It was a cold evening, and I was running behind schedule to meet my friends at a party on the other side of town. The buses were packed, and the thought of cramming into one of them made me even more tired. Standing at the bus stop, checking the time on my phone, a sleek black car pulled up next to me. The driver, a man who seemed to be in his mid-30s, rolled down the window and gave me a friendly smile. "Need a ride?" he asked, his voice smooth and effortless. Normally, I wouldn't accept a ride from a stranger, but something about his calm demeanor made me feel at ease. Maybe it was the exhaustion from a long day at work, or the temptation to skip the crowded bus, but before I realized it, I found myself saying yes. I climbed into the car, the warm leather seats offering relief from the cold air outside. He introduced himself as Sam, though the way he said it made me wonder if that was truly his name. There was an air of mystery about him, something intriguing. His dark, captivating eyes occasionally met mine as he drove. He didn't ask too many questions, which I appreciated. We exchanged a few casual remarks about where I was headed and what I did for a living, but mostly there was a strange, almost electric silence between us. As we drove through the streets, the city lights flashing past, everything seemed fine at first. But then, as the roads grew quieter, something in the atmosphere changed. The way he looked at me, the way his hand subtly brushed the steering wheel, and the occasional bite of his lip, it was all undeniably alluring. Yet there was an underlying tension, something dangerously seductive. I tried to push the feeling aside, telling myself it was just my imagination, but my heart was pounding more than it should have been. His scent filled the car, a mix of something earthy and intoxicating, pulling me in closer. It was strange. I barely knew him, yet I felt drawn to him, like a moth to a flame. Then, without warning, he made an unexpected turn, veering off the main road. A surge of anxiety hit me. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He flashed that same smooth smile, but this time there was a darkness in his eyes, something deeper. "Don't worry," he said, his voice low and almost teasing. "I just know a shortcut. Trust me. Trust me." Those words lingered in the air. I wasn't sure I should, but there was something in the way he spoke that made it hard to resist. It felt like I was caught in a web, unable to escape, yet unwilling to. The car slowed as we entered a secluded area. Tall trees lined the road, their branches casting eerie shadows in the dim light. My heart raced, not just from fear but from the thrill of the unknown. Part of me wanted to jump out of the car, but another part was excited by whatever was about to happen. He parked, turned off the engine, and silence settled between us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The tension hung thick in the air. My breath quickened as he turned toward me, gently tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch sent a shiver down my spine, a mix of anticipation and fear. "You're different," he whispered, his voice soft but intense. "I knew it the moment I saw you." His words made my pulse race even faster. I wanted to ask him what he meant, but before I could, he leaned in closer, his lips almost touching mine. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Was this really happening? Should I stop it? But before I could decide, his lips gently brushed mine, testing the waters. The kiss was electrifying, igniting a fire inside me that I didn't know was there. It wasn't just a kiss, it was intense, passionate, raw. Everything else faded away. I found myself responding, my hands gripping the seat, torn between giving in and pulling away. He pulled back slightly, his eyes searching mine, silently asking for permission. In that moment, I realized I was no longer just a passenger in his car. I was entangled in something much deeper, something far more dangerous. His hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me in again, this time more forcefully. The kiss deepened, and I could feel his desire in every movement. There was no turning back now. The night had taken a sharp turn and I was no longer in control. We stayed there in the middle of nowhere for what felt like an eternity. His hands explored my body and mine his. The car had become a cocoon, shutting us off from the outside world. I knew it was reckless, that I was doing things I would never normally do in a stranger's car, but I didn't care. The danger, the excitement, it was intoxicating. After what felt like hours, we finally pulled apart, both breathless. He looked at me, his eyes dark with desire, but there was something else there. Something unreadable. "I don't usually do this," I whispered. "Neither do I," he replied, though I wasn't sure I believed him. There was something about him that suggested he wasn't new to these kinds of encounters. He turned the car around and drove me back to the main road in silence. The tension between us remained, maybe even grew stronger, but neither of us said a word about what had just happened. It was as if we both knew this moment didn't need explaining. When he dropped me off at my destination, he gave me one last lingering look before driving off into the night. I stood there, my mind still reeling from everything that had happened. I never saw him again after that night, but I couldn't forget him either. The memory of that evening haunted me for weeks, and every time I passed the spot where he had picked me up, I felt a strange mix of longing and fear. It was a moment in my life that I couldn't explain, a dangerous thrill I couldn't shake. And though I would never make the same choice again, part of me would always wonder what might have happened if I had said no, if I hadn't taken that ride, if I hadn't gotten swept up in the mystery and passion of a stranger. But sometimes, it's the unexpected moments that leave the deepest impressions. And no matter how much I tried to forget, I knew I never would. This was a wild journey, and if you enjoyed the suspense and intensity, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling stories. You never know what twists the next one will bring.